Hey, good evening, everybody. Just going to give it a few more moments while people continue to join. Okay, so it looks like we have a decent amount of participants in our meeting, and you know, in the effort to, respect everybody's time, I'd like to get everybody started. Quick introduction: I am Michael Lang. I'm with the Chicago Park District, and I'm really appreciate everybody joining us today. We're actually going to start with a brief announcement by Lucio, who is leading up our Give Back initiative, specifically for Grant Park. And then we're going to turn it over to our team to go over the framework plan. Lucio?
Thank you, Michael. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lucio. I'm the executive assistant to the general superintendent for participatory budgeting. I asked for a few minutes to speak at this meeting because the Chicago Park District is really excited about another separate initiative happening at Grant Park. As some of you know, the Park District launched a participatory budgeting process at Grant Park, giving community members a direct role in shaping future improvements to the park. A total of 585,283 in PB funds generated from 2024 and 2025 special events at Grant Park will be available for community-driven park improvement projects. Just a really quick definition of what PB is. Participatory budgeting is a democratic process that allows residents and park users to propose ideas, help develop projects, and vote on how public funds are invested in their park. So I wanted to just say, join us on February 18th. The Grant Park Advisory Council will hold a virtual meeting at 6 p.m. I will be there in attendance talking about PB. And so come join us, learn about the PB process and how you can get involved. All community members are encouraged to attend and share their ideas. And if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them via email. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Our email is giveback@chicagoparkdistrict.com, and I'll go ahead and type that in the chat. But yeah, that's it for me. Thank you so much. I'll pass it over to Michael.
Great. Thank you, Lucio. I also should just remind everybody that our presentation this evening is recorded. The framework plan, the presentation, and the recording will be available on our website within the next day or so. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our superintendent, Carlos Ramirez Rosas, to welcome us regarding the framework plan this evening. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Michael. As Michael shared, my name is Carlos Ramirez Rosa, and I have the great honor and privilege of serving as the General Superintendent and Chief Executive Officer for our wonderful Chicago Park District. I'm so excited for tonight's webinar, and I'm so grateful for all of you joining us here tonight, because this is the culmination of several years of community engagement to update the framework plan for Grant Park, Chicago's front yard. Tonight is the culmination of over 2,800 comments received via the web, received via virtual meetings, in-person meetings, emails. Tonight is the culmination of so many meetings, and it's the culmination of the community coming together to provide a community-driven vision for Grant Park over the next 20 years. It's important to say this, and I'm sure you'll hear it again later on in this presentation, but this is a framework plan. And so what that means is that these are not technical drawings. These are not engineering drawings that we're going to go out and build tomorrow. This is a sketch of what we should aim towards in the future. It's our North Star. But in order for us to get to that North Star and know what we need to be working towards, we needed to engage you, the people of the city of Chicago, the people that we work for. And we wanted to make sure that as we came up with this collective vision for the future of Grant Park, that it truly was collective and that it truly was rooted in the community and represented all of the various different needs that are placed on Chicago's front yard as a place for people to gather for important civic events, as a place for recreation for families in the South Loop and the Loop, as a place for visitors and people from all across the city to enjoy. So we're so incredibly grateful, of course, to Michael Lang at the Park District, who's been project managing this, of course, Heather Gleason, our Director of Capital and Planning at the Park District, but also our design team, because it truly took a strong group of designers and planners to come together and really put pen to paper and make the community's decisions around the future of Grant Park a reality and a beautiful document that will guide decisions for decades to come. So with that, I'll turn it back over to the team here to walk us through where we landed. But I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that got us here. And so importantly, thank you to the residents. Through their civic engagement, we were able to land on this beautiful, updated framework plan for Grant Park. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Superintendent Ramirez Rosa. That was really great. You stole a little bit of my thunder. So anyway, hello everyone. Welcome from the design team as well. I'm Carrie Berg. I'm the project manager. I'm also associate principal at UrbanWorks. Again, thank you for joining us tonight. We are so excited to celebrate all the hard work and dedication from so many to reveal the final framework plan, Chicago's Front Yard Reimagined 2026. The slides we are going to show you tonight are an abbreviated version of the full framework plan, which will be available starting tomorrow. This plan updates the previously published 2002 framework plan. That plan was a 20-year plan, same as this updated framework plan, which we are presenting today. Our role was to update that 2002 plan into the current vision for improvements in the park for the next 20 years. The 2002 framework plan had a lot of great ideas. Several improvements have been implemented since then. At least a dozen ideas from that 2002 plan have been realized to date. The plan we are about to show you features many more exciting improvements to Chicago's front yard to reinvigorate Grant Park's vitality and remain a global destination. Okay, the purpose of the framework plan is a tool. It's a tool to create a comprehensive vision of future development ideas for the park for the next 20 years. This addresses your concerns today as well as the future. And as Superintendent Ramirez Rosa said, it is not a construction plan. It's a vision plan or an idea plan. It's a planning tool that allows us for collectively developed ideas to be in place so that improvements will be implemented based on availability of funding resources and the priority of you, the community. So let's begin by showing you the report. We broke the framework plan into 4 chapters. The first chapter you see on the screen here is the process of creating the framework plan update. And that process started with you. I'm talking about the engagement process, and we offered many different meetings and types of meetings, both with stakeholders, the public, and at many different locations and times. The variety of meetings was designed to build on prior engagement activities and meetings to develop your opinions to solicit a wide range of participation so we could understand feedback from all neighborhoods. We gathered your input, identified your preferences and priorities to generate the ideas we are going to present today. We collected and recorded your feedback per the 5 park topics at those various meetings, and your thoughts were captured in an assortment of methods, from poll answers to website comments, and we analyzed common or repeat themes to discern your top priorities per topic that inform not only the final ideas, but it also informed the park's collective vision statement, which helped us imagine the future of the park together and helps us steer the framework plan in the right direction. Although there were many different voices, we found common ground, which led to a comprehensive guiding vision for the future of Grant Park. Your input also informed the 5 guiding principles, which are the truths or the pillars that provide a sense of direction or mission and help create the framework. Those guiding principles resulted from a combination of the 2002 Framework Plan, existing park conditions, community input, insight and vision, the community's shared vision, and planning best practices, and lastly, the mission of the Chicago Park District.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Terry Burke-Bigler. I am a senior principal with Confluence, a landscape architecture firm. I'm going to talk you through the next couple of chapters, starting with the context. So, in addition to understanding what the community saw as priorities for the park, it was important for us to understand the park today. How does the park function? And that's what the framework plan ultimately is based on as well. So, looking at how the park is experienced today, understanding there's a significant amount of circulation that goes through the park. There are a number of really great formal gardens, but there's also some underutilized spaces. We started to look at how the park functions throughout the year, the different seasons. What is Grant Park like in the winter compared to the fall, compared to the summer with all the festivals, and in the spring? So we wanted to understand the context in that setting. But then we also wanted to get down into a day in the life. So how does Grant Park function throughout the day, and how's it experienced by different user groups? So thinking about it from a neighborhood resident, someone who lives near Grant Park, how do they utilize it in the morning, the afternoon, the evening? Visitors to Chicago, that take advantage of the museums and the beautiful Buckingham Fountain and other things around Grant Park. And then also from a typical Chicago resident that might not live downtown but comes downtown frequently for some of the special things that occur in Grant Park, and understanding how they experience it at different times of the day. And then obviously understanding the rich history that created that original framework for Grant Park and really created this beautiful front yard for Chicago. That is a core to any ideas, and being protective and sensitive of that is a core to any of the ideas that are generated. So thinking about those spaces that really need to be maintained. It's the formal gardens in the center. It's the rooms along Michigan Avenue, understanding the importance of the museums and how they connect and can be connected through Grant Park. And then how do we create new ideas that strengthen those existing assets? One of the key things we learned early on is the sense of a park divided. And if you've been to, most of you have been there, you understand that there's a significant amount of disconnection due to the railroad tracks, due to the streets. And one of the priorities that came to us loud and clear is the importance to prioritize pedestrian experience and improve the safety of Grant Park. So you'll see that as a priority throughout. And thinking about, how long does it take you to walk from various aspects? So we just did a quick study of a walking radius from Buckingham Fountain, a 5-minute and 10-minute walk, understanding nobody's really walking that straight sort of as the crow flies. But that helps us understand sort of that level of time that people are spending if they are visiting more than one place in the park. And then ultimately, that's where we develop these concepts of stitching, bridging, and combine. So stitching, thinking about how can we improve that pedestrian experience, slow traffic, create safer places for pedestrians at the street level without making significant changes to the roadway network. The bridging concept, maybe there are ways that we're separating the pedestrians from the vehicles through introducing new bridges and new elevated crossings throughout the park and in key locations. And then finally, really, you'll see in the plan this combined concept, which is areas where the stitching approach makes a lot of sense, but then also areas where it really does make sense to make a bolder move and talk about bridging and separating the two circulation. So the next chapter in the report is the updates. So this is going to be a whole series of ideas. I will start, and then Maria will walk you through a lot of these ideas. We go zone by zone in the park. So I'm going to talk first about the park-wide elements. So in everything we're showing, you'll see that Grant Park North is oriented to the right or to the upper right in this case. So just for orientation purposes, as I tell people, just make sure that you keep the lake on your right and you'll be facing north. Park-wide elements. These are the things that can occur throughout the park. We'll go through a series of slides on that. So a couple of things that really surfaced that the majority of the participants in this process really gravitated toward. This concept of a forest line that really connects, it introduces a lot of great new landscape and flexible use spaces for park users, and it decks over the metro track. So it really stitches the park back together and creates more green space in the park. Converting Columbus Drive to a flex street. Introducing space for a dedicated lane for bus or trolley that can be a connector to really help to move people from one end of the park to the other. Activation of underutilized spaces came out a lot in our conversations and seems like something that folks think could be done relatively easily in many places in the park today. And then the concept of road diet and narrowing roadways, again, converting car space to pedestrian space. So I'm going to talk first about the roadway discussions and ideas. So DeSable Lakeshore Drive, maintaining the number of lanes that are there today. We're not going to change that, but the idea is that we do have space to narrow the width of those drive lanes. And by doing that, it allows us to capture more space to introduce planted median, introduce more landscape buffer on the side so that you create a better experience for bicyclists and pedestrians that are moving north-south along Lakeshore Drive. Columbus Drive, I mentioned, creating this festival or this flex street. So here we are proposing what's called a road diet. So reducing the number of travel lanes. What this does is it allows us to introduce dedicated place for a trolley. We think a trolley connector is an idea worth considering that will really help connect the things like Maggie Daly and Millennium Park to the field and to the Buckingham Fountain. Introducing dedicated places for bicyclists, enhancing the buffer for pedestrians. So really converting what is now vehicular-oriented space to more pedestrian and park user-oriented space. And then the east-west streets, Monroe, Jackson, Balbo, really looking at opportunities to narrow those, introduce dedicated bike facilities, protected places for pedestrians, and then at the intersections, this really helps to shorten that crossing distance, making it a safer experience for pedestrians when they do need to cross those streets. So now I want to move over to the forest line. So this would be the north segment of the forest line. And as I mentioned, this is that opportunity to deck over the metro tracks. And you can see there, one of the things we heard is there a way to bring more landscape into the park? We all understand that there's, beautiful gardens, some really stately trees in a real formal pattern. But the community saw and really requested this opportunity for more natural sort of landscaped environments. And we think this is a place where that can occur. So you can see this opportunity to introduce little resting areas along this pathway that can begin to connect Grant Park on the north to the south through a landscape zone, as opposed to always having to walk along the edge of the roadway. And then moving to the south segment, again, connecting it all the way down to Roosevelt with a series of organic pathways. You've got little places for fitness stations or just little rest areas, places for public art, just a number of really nice things that can be done, as well as just flexible space that the neighbors and users can sort of make their own. And thinking about that, that introduction of landscape and how does it fit with the overall, landscape framework of Grant Park. So we looked at, kind of pulled back and said, how does it all fit together structurally? So understanding the importance of the original formal garden and formal design of that central area, that light green space, and that's an important piece of the fabric of Grant Park that must be maintained. But we also have the opportunity to strengthen that. Thinking about that bluish area where you've got the festival grounds, you've got opportunities for recreational fields that are there today, and maybe relocating some of those. That gray area would be where that forest land gets introduced. Respecting the landscape of the Art Institute, the indoor as well as the outdoor gardens collection they've got. The dark green, the Michigan Avenue rooms, understanding the importance of those from the formality of Grant Park, its face on Michigan Avenue. But then one place we really want to talk about is this opportunity to expand that more naturalized landscape that's beginning to occur in those yellow zones on the north and the south sides of the more formal parts of Grant Park. And we think there's a real opportunity to bring that along the lakefront and help it begin to sort of make its way beyond Lakeshore Drive and really help to enhance the lakefront experience. And then what do you do in some of those spaces that could be further activated? Some of it's simple, more seating, more areas for people to gather, more opportunities for concessions, rest areas, additional and improved restroom facilities, things like that. Then also thinking about the importance of, those spaces in the different seasons. Are there places where we can introduce elements that make the park usable on an informal basis in the wintertime? The importance of the seasonal aspect of it. Are there places for pop-ups to occur on a seasonal basis? And then understanding the importance of public art in Grant Park, whether it's permanent installations or opportunities for temporary rotations that can occur to really bring people back to see, okay, what's coming up this season or this month or this quarter. We think those are some really neat opportunities to be further explored as well.
Thank you, Terry. Hello, everyone. I'm Maria Pidot. I'm Principal and Design Director at UrbanWorks, and it is a pleasure to be here with all of you tonight. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us. So now that we've looked at the park-wide elements, we will move through the rest of the park zones, starting with the historic core, to present the concepts that received the strongest support from the public and the stakeholders and have therefore been implemented into the framework plan. We'll start with the historic core, which is the area between Jackson to the north and Balbo to the south, from Michigan Avenue all the way to the lakefront. The text box on the left lists a summary of repeating comments that we received throughout engagement, and the one on the right shows a breakdown of the number of comments received and shows the favored ideas that were presented. This format is typical for all of the zones that we'll present to you tonight, which include, in addition to the historic core, the South Grant Park, North Grant Park, and the lakefront. In this zone, there were two primary areas of focus, as shown here in the green bubbles. From comments received for the Congress Plaza restoration, we heard loud and clear the desire for prioritizing a pedestrian-friendly environment and for creating a direct pedestrian connection to the fountain table and across to the lake. Of the two options presented here for Congress Plaza, 91% of the participants preferred the terrace steps and promenade, which we will show you shortly in more detail. For the Buckingham Fountain connection to the lake, we heard that there was a desire for a more landscaped, accessible, and car-free access and link to Queen's Landing. Of the two options presented for this connection to the lake, 95% preferred the deck over DuSable Lakeshore Drive. As mentioned, here's the detailed view of the preferred option at Congress Plaza, the terrace steps and promenade, which transforms IWLs into a pedestrian-friendly gateway by narrowing traffic lanes and reuniting the two halves of Congress Plaza with new cascading fountains and pedestrian lawn terraces. This revitalized space will enhance the park's historic core with improved bike access, seating, and landscaping while maintaining essential traffic services, providing a new urban respite for the community. And here is the preferred option for the Buckingham Fountain connection to the lake. The DuSable Lakeshore Drive deck over will enhance pedestrian safety and accessibility by depressing DuSable Lakeshore Drive, generally from Jackson to Balbo, covering the roadway with new recreation lawns and seating. This design provides uninterrupted pedestrian and bike passage from Buckingham Fountain directly to the waterfront. We will now move to the South Grand Park to share the ideas most strongly supported by the community and stakeholders and therefore reflected in the framework plan. South Grant refers to the area just south of the historic core, which we just discussed, so south of Balbo. And in this zone, there were 4 primary areas of focus as shown here in this pink bubbles. Starting with improving access to recreation, we heard about the desire to maintain balance between active programming like impromptu sports and passive programming for everyday use. Of the options presented, 57% of the public preferred the idea of the Hutchinson Neighborhood Park. For facilitating park access during events, the public requested flexible festival and event infrastructure that can help protect the lawn and balance the big events with everyday usability, with 82% of the comments supporting the idea of festival grounds in this area. Along Michigan Avenue, for the Southern Park entry activation, we heard strong support for maintaining the Agora where it's currently located. In addition, 97% supported the idea of improving the Michigan Avenue Park rooms with amenities, including additional neighborhood recreation space. Lastly, for this zone, for reclaiming cultural space, the request was for transforming the area into a space that can facilitate cultural interaction, with 74% of the comments supporting the People's Plaza Overlook option. And as we did in the historic core, we will now show you in more detail what those preferred options look like that resulted from the engagement process. Here is the preferred option for the Upper Hutch, the Hutchinson Neighborhood Park. The proposed upgrades include a new playground, a 9th Street pedestrian bridge for improved access, and a greatly expanded Grant Park Park, which is the dog-friendly area. For Lower Hutch, the Festival Grounds concept strengthens this field as Grant Park's main location for large summer festivals, while improving its use for free everyday recreation between events. Planned upgrades including safer pedestrian street crossings, better drainage, accessibility improvements, and event infrastructure such as restrooms and concessions will create a more functional, inclusive, and welcoming festival grounds year-round. For the Michigan Avenue Park rooms, this concept maintains the Agora sculpture installation where currently located and improves access to it by adding new walkways for better connectivity. This concept also introduces an inclusive playground just north of the Agora and tiered seating near Grant Skate Park to create a vibrant, interactive neighborhood destination. And lastly, for the South Grand Park zone, the People's Plaza overlook at the former location of the Columbus Monument and statue reimagines the space as a cultural destination for public art and gatherings. These updates will transform the overlook into a welcoming destination that celebrates Chicago's diverse heritage and stories and encourages year-round community engagement. We will now turn our focus to North Grand Park and the concepts that earned the strongest support for the public and from the stakeholders and are included in the framework plan. North Grand Park refers to the area north of the historic core from Jackson to Randolph. And in this zone, there were 2 primary areas of focus as shown here in the orange bubbles. The conversations around improving and reconnecting Butler Field highlighted a desire for flexible, multi-use space that feels more connected and provides better public amenities. There were 2 options presented for this area, with 70% of the comments addressing the concept of sports fields and 30% directed to the concept of Butler as a sculpture park. For the harbor and bike path connection. What we heard from the public was the desire to maintain a dedicated bike lane in this area, as well as a strong request for a safe and seamless way to cross DuSable Lakeshore Drive. 86% of the public supported the idea of an overhead crossing at this location via a new DuSable Harbor Bridge. So now in more detail, here is the option at Butler Field that received the most comments. This concept proposes to level the lawn and create new softball fields with view-in terraces that can also support performances and exhibitions. A new north-south promenade strengthens connections between the historic core to the south, Maggie Daly to the north, surrounding streets, and the nearby cultural institutions. The other option that receives strong support for Butler is the Butler Sculpture Park, which creates a flexible sculpture garden with new walkways, landscaping, and a central lawn that supports both everyday use and special events. A new plaza, improved amenities, and upgraded crossings at Monroe will create stronger and more seamless connections between the park and its cultural neighbors. And it is important to note that feasibility of these two proposed concepts will require further evaluation to ensure Butler's ongoing flexibility and capacity to support diverse year-round activities. Lastly, for this zone, here is the preferred option at DuSable Harbor, which proposes a pedestrian bridge that will connect Grant Park to the lakefront, creating a safe and direct link from Peanut Park over DuSable Lakeshore Drive to scenic overlooks and lakefront trails. Proposed hillside gathering spaces, an adult fitness area, and a potential dog-friendly zone will expand access and elevate recreation and enjoyment along the lakefront. And the last zone we want to present is the lakefront. East of DuSable Lakeshore Drive, it's the ribbon that connects all of the other zones in Grant Park that we have presented tonight. In this zone, the focus was on developing concepts and ideas to activate the entire lakefront. Feedback showed overwhelming support for linking Buckingham Fountain to the lake, with 71% of comments backing the Queen's Landing extension as a vehicle-free connection that enhances green space and access. In addition, public comments on improvements to the lakefront room parks focus on the desire for flexible elements that support concessions, play, fitness, and that can be accessed year-round. So here in more detail is the Queen's Landing extension proposal, which establishes a fully accessible, car-free pedestrian and bicycle link from Buckingham Fountain to Queen's Landing, along with a north-south connection to the lakefront promenade. This proposal directly links the park to lakefront trails, to the harbors, and to the museum campus, with new overlook terraces, water taxi stops, seating, and comfort amenities that will enhance lake views and improve access, establishing this area as a welcoming civic destination. And lastly, the concepts discussed for the lakefront park rooms and supported by the public transformed that sloped area along DuSable Lakeshore Drive into a series of inviting multi-generational spaces for play, for dining, art, gardens, and relaxation along the water. A new expansive lakefront deck, along with concessions and comfort facilities, establishes inviting destinations that support comfortable year-round use of the lakefront.
So Maria just walked through a lot of great ideas for various areas within the park. Now we're moving into how do we tie that all together? So this last chapter in the report really talks about just that. It shows you how all these ideas come together in one cohesive plan. So the proposed plan here, it brings those ideas into one place and knits them together. So it shows how the festival grounds improvements can work at Lower Hutch. It shows how Butler Field proposal could work with those ball fields and the reimagining of that space. It looks at the reimagining of lakefront, of the lakefront, and of the deck over for Queen's Landing connecting back to the Buckingham Fountain. And then you can see how it introduces the forest line. So all of these ideas are brought together and shared in this one cohesive plan, but they're broken down in the previous portions of the document, so there's more detail provided to provide guidance ultimately for future implementation. And we see this plan being implemented over time. It is a 20-year plan. It will take time, but the next portion of this is really talking about how do you implement that. So by looking at it in pieces, it will help the park district be able to better identify projects that align with funding in the future. Rather than trying to tackle the whole plan at one time, it becomes something more manageable. So as funding comes forward, they can work with the community to identify which priorities want to move forward at which time. And then throughout the document, there are a series of more detailed recommendations. So if we've really talked the high level big ideas, but throughout the document, we refer to priorities related to preservation and landscape that are written into the various sections of the document. The recreation, how is the park used? The improvements of the bike paths and the other recreational opportunities that are introduced. Of course, safety and logistics. Safety for day-to-day use, as well as safety and logistics for major events that occur in the park throughout the year. And then ultimately, how do those events function? How do they integrate into the park? And then how does the park still function for the community when events are occurring? And then finally, mobility. The idea of this dedicated place for a trolley, making safer and better places for bicycles and for pedestrians, and then whatever the future sort of micro mobility opportunities that occur in the future that we haven't even seen yet today.
And thank you, everybody. We just wanted to take a moment and acknowledge all the input that we've received from groups throughout the duration of our engagement. There were a number of community stakeholders and leadership that was represented that came along to the ride with us and provided a lot of input, and we are very grateful and appreciate that and hope that those you feel that those ideas have all been encompassed here. I'd like to take a moment and turn it over to Heather Gleason.
All right. Thank you, Michael. Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Heather Gleason. I'm the Director of Planning and Construction for the Chicago Park District. And I just wanted to add my thanks to all of the people who participated in this plan, our Grant Park Advisory Council, our steering committee. I won't name everyone. And a huge shout out to our consulting team. Really, thank you. Knocked it out of the park. This is, no pun intended. This is great. And we are really, really pleased with the results. So thank you all for all of your efforts and inputs to the plan. Also want to thank our elected officials, sent a lot of staff to our meetings to kind of keep a pulse on what was happening. So Alderman Riley, Alderman Robinson, I know Alderman Conway staff also participated. And so I just want to thank all of them as well for their time and inputs to the plan. And I'd really like to thank our superintendent and CEO, Carlos Ramirez Rosa, for his leadership and assistance in getting us to this point tonight. He really provided a lot of feedback, and I'm so grateful. Thank you, Carlos. And also to my staff that are on with us tonight, Kate Thomas and Clem Taylor. They were very often at the public meetings that you all saw and helping guide us. So thank you so much. And then last but certainly not least, Michael Lang has shepherded this entire process for years now. He's our deputy of planning. He's been our spokesperson here tonight. And I just want to thank you so much, Michael, for your great effort and dedication. Thank you and congratulations on getting this through. And then lastly, I just want to say thank you to the community. We could not do this without you. So many of you spent countless evenings with us, sharing your thoughts, thinking about the park and how we might improve it, really giving up your personal time to spend time with us and our consultants and sharing your feedback. So it means a really great deal to us at the Park District to hear your voices and get your feedback. And this plan is all the better for it. So thank you so much. We look forward to working with all of you in the community to implement the visions in this plan for Grant Park now and in the years to come. So just want to say thanks to you all. And now I will turn it back over to Carrie to close us out here. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. On behalf of the design team, we also would love to thank Superintendent Ramirez Rosa and the Park District, Chicago Park District, for your leadership and entrusting our team with this very important and forward-thinking Grant Park Framework Plan. Your commitment to stewardship, public life, and the future of Grant Park made this work between all of us both meaningful and inspiring. Personal best for me. I'm sure my whole team. And we are so grateful for the opportunity to contribute to its next chapter. We also want to thank all of you on the call and who weren't able to make it on the call. We were so appreciative of all your efforts in helping us to create the Grant Park Framework Plan. But we could have not done this without the help of all of you and our entire design team, which consists of, I'd like to take a little shout out here, UrbanWorks, team lead, project management, architecture, planning, and community engagement. Confluence, landscape architecture, planning, and urban design. Withers Strategic Solutions Consulting Group, community engagement. AP Monarch, sustainability and community engagement. Engage Civil, civil engineering and site design. Brush Architects, historic architecture, restoration and preservation. Liska and Associates, graphic design and document layout. Edward Keegan, document editor. So it took a whole village. It took a village to make a park. Okay, starting tomorrow, Thursday, you will be able to download a copy of the entire framework plan by going to Chicago Park District website that you can see on your screen right here, or use the QR code that you see on the screen. I'll leave this slide up for a second or two so you have a chance to aim your phones at it, and that'll give you a direct link to get ready to download tomorrow. Thank you again for your participation, and now we will end the meeting. And good night, everyone. Have a safe drive home, or if you're driving. Good night.